Welcome back to my channel. I'm Chi if you're new here. And yeah, I have another video about locks for you today. If you notice, something is very different, and that is my locks have been cut. I think you would have seen before I put in the footage of the actual process of cutting my locks as well as coloring them. And so now I'm just going to kind of talk to you about why and how I came to the decision to cut my locks, and kind of what my thought process was behind that, and then going through my new and improved lock routine, and how I'm taking care of my hair moving forward. Yeah, and I think that's it. Sorry, I just have a list here so that I can keep track of everything. Again, I'm going to try to keep this short, but in the event that it runs long, then I will probably parse this into a couple of videos. Why did I cut my locks? Well, there are a few reasons. I would say 3 to 4 reasons. The first of which was lint. I had so much lint that had been accumulating in my locks over really, for the duration of my journey, but it's definitely kicked up a notch in the past few years. And it basically got to a point where the bottom the bottom row that's like right at the nape of my neck, had it the worst, like to the point where it looked almost like a zebra, like I don't know, it was like stripes. It was like black, white, black, white, black, white. And it was just gross and it was ugly, and nothing that I've tried over the last 5.5 years has really worked in terms of getting rid of it. And then I mentioned in my previous video, when I was doing my my product unboxing, that I recently kind of confirmed that the only thing you can really do to get rid of or cover up the appearance of lint is to color your hair. So yeah, that was kind of the first reason for cutting them, because the lint had gotten so bad, particularly in the back, but also at other spots, like on the sides I had it as well quite a lot. The middle and the front and top weren't as bad. It was mainly the back and the sides. But it was getting to the point where my locks were starting to break off at the ends, and I would be losing anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches at just random points in my locks. So it wasn't even, it wasn't uniform, which they weren't anyway, and they aren't going to be when you're growing them out naturally unless you cut them. But uneven to the point where it was clear that something was potentially wrong. And you may have noticed in the first part of the video, when I'm showing the process of cutting my locks, I started from the front, because literally these front two, one of them broke off about 2 inches, and so it would have been a visible difference if I had let it, because it was going to fall off anyway, and if I had let it fall off, having that kind of unevenness right in the front, it was just not the look I wanted. I don't think it's cute at all. I think, again, we know where our hair grows and how our hair grows and kind of the natural layers, and there's nothing natural about having one lock on this side that's this length and another one that's like this length on your front. It just doesn't look cute. So yeah, I knew that I didn't really have much of a choice if I didn't have the confidence to walk around with lopsided hair, more or less. So that's the reason number one. Number two was just that I really needed a change. I'm the kind of person, I get bored with my look, and particularly with my hair, pretty frequently. Even before I locked my hair, people know, like, I changed my hairstyle a lot. I tried every braided style, sew-in styles. That's black women in general, but it was something that I really enjoyed because I liked switching up my look. And so for me to go 5.5 years with one look is a feat for me. But then again, even over the course of those 5 years, my hair is growing and was at different stages and lengths. And so even that still gave me some variety. But I would say in the last year or two, it basically, because the health of my locks was starting to take a turn, the aesthetic and like the look of my locks had kind of plateaued. And then now at the most recent stage was kind of starting to reverse again, because like I said, it was starting to break off. And so it hadn't really been changing in a way that was exciting to me anymore. And then again, it got to a point where it was just no longer healthy. So I really needed a refresh. I usually do it once a year anyway, in some way, shape, or form, whether it's to color my hair, trim my hair, before I had locks, maybe, trying a new style, whatever it was, cutting my hair off, whatever it was. I used to do it maybe around like the beginning of the year or my birthday. In this case, it was around my birthday, and I was just really needing something to refresh my look and just also like a boost for my own energy and yeah, for kind of like where my head was at. The third reason, kind of on the back of that, it was a solution to kind of avoid cutting off my locks completely. I mentioned in my last video that I was getting the urge to cut my locks off. And I would have been fine to do that. I mean, when I originally got my locks, I told myself I was going to keep them either until I was 30 or until I hit 3 years, whichever came first. I can't remember which came first. I think 3 years came first. But whichever one I could make it to first. And I passed both of those milestones without having the urge to cut my hair, so I just kept growing it. So in my mind, I've already met my milestones. And then the last milestone was kind of like length. I wasn't growing them for length, but I knew that I wouldn't want them longer than maybe like bra strap length, like right here, which is where they were when I cut them. So I had already reached all of my milestones and markers in terms of my journey, my lock journey, and so there was really nothing at this stage, especially with things taking a turn for the worse. There was nothing that was really making me want to keep them, and so but then again, it was kind of like, well, you made it this far. Is there anything I can do to save my locks, save this particular set of locks, I should say? And so just having it cut was kind of my middle ground solution to change up my look, make them look and feel a bit healthier without having to get rid of them completely. I think at this stage, again, I'm 5.5 years in. I'll be 6 years locked at the end of the year. So at this stage, I kind of would like to keep them for at least another year, maybe even until year 7. I think maybe 7. I like the number 7. It's the number of completion. So it'd also be kind of cool to like mark the end of that journey there if I get to that point and I'm still thinking I want to, start a new set. And then the last reason is kind of, I don't know. I feel like maybe people with locks would understand this, but one of the cool things that I've discovered along my lock journey is that they kind of tell a story of where you were at different points, where you were in your life at different points in your lock journey, if that makes sense. That's emotionally, mentally, physically. And I found that I could look at my locks and kind of remember, which this probably sounds a little bit weird, but I could remember, like you could see the points at which my locks were really healthy and like were flourishing, and then the points where they started to thin out and get a bit brittle and a bit weak, maybe had more buildup, more lint or whatever. And it was kind of like, at various points in my locks, and I could point them out. I knew exactly what was happening at those points in time. And so I think that's kind of cool. That's one of the, I think my favorite things about my locks, that I can look at my hair and it's like my hair has grown and evolved with me over the last 5.5 years. And so it's really, really cool to have that kind of record. With that said, obviously, like in the last few years, my life has been a bit of a whirlwind. Like I've said, I've gotten married, I've had twin boys, I'm a stepmom, I'm living abroad in London. So a lot of changes. I've done a career switch. I'm in a completely different industry. There's been a lot of things that have kind of happened just in the last 3 or 4 years. And so a lot of ups and a lot of downs, as you can probably guess. And cutting my locks short was also kind of like a spiritual thing for me in terms of like being able to physically shed some of the not so great stuff that was like literally invisibly showing in my locks anyway. Like I would say that that was kind of like the point at which my locks were the most unhealthy. And so being able to shed that weight, that burden, that negativity, and all that just kind of like cruddy stuff was really cathartic for me. I can still see the part in my locks where I was like pregnant. It's like literally the fattest part of my locks and the healthiest part of my locks. So I'm glad that I got to keep that part because that was a great experience. So it's like this is like all the happy stuff, and the good stuff is kind of like symbolic. And yeah, things have been good since then. So that's my last reason. What is my new hair care routine, lock care routine? I keep referring to my previous video. That's where I did my unboxing of all the products that I am now using, that I've now incorporated into my routine. I've now had 3 cycles, if you will, using those products. I wash my hair once a week, and have done really for the majority of my journey, just because I have a dry scalp, and it kind of like requires a lot of maintenance in that regard. So the lock detox I did first, because I needed to just kind of reset my scalp and my hair. I have a co-host with me now. Ezra is up from a nap. Okay, so that was your basic ACV soak. It was one part baking soda, 3 parts Bragg's organic apple cider vinegar with the mother, and half a lemon. And so I mixed all of that in using my inflatable wash basin, and I just laid that in the bathtub, soaked my head in that for about an hour, and as thoroughly as I could, I massaged my scalp, my locks, and I focused a lot of attention on the point at which my new growth kind of intersected with my locked roots, because that's where a lot of buildup and lint was, at least most recently. So I really focused on that, tried to rub all of that out as best as I could. And then, actually, sorry, you know what? I just remembered. Before I did that, I used the scalp scrub, the Buckthorn scalp scrub. I think I put coconut oil in as like a pre-poo. Did the Buckthorn scrub, rinsed that out thoroughly, and then I did the ACV soak for an hour. Sorry. And so once the soak was done, rinsed my hair until it ran clear, till the water ran clear, and then I used just regular lemon scented dish soap, and washed my hair. Washed my hair about 4 more times. Washed my hair about 4 times with that. And that was my first time using dish soap, but I'd seen it recommended by Yanni, the lockologist, who I think is probably the resident expert on YouTube for all things regarding healthy locks. And so she recommended that. I'd never heard of it before, tried it, so I tried it for the first time, and I was astounded. I think that was probably the part of the process that shocked me the most and that I enjoyed the most, because even after doing the lock soak and water running clear, and each of the 4 times that I used the dish soap, more stuff came out. Like the water would run brown again. It was insane. So I am definitely going to be keeping that as part of my detox routine. I think it's too harsh to use regularly. In fact, I know it is. And so I probably will only use that 2 to 3 times a year tops, along with the ACV rinse. So after I did that, I did a one-time wash with the Dr. Bronner's Tea Tree Castile soap. That again was a really impressive product. More brown water came out with that. But I only did the 1 wash because, again, 4 times with the lemon dish soap was probably a lot. But obviously, I had been needing the detox for years. And then Dr. Bronner's, as gentle as it is quite stripping as well. And my hair was already feeling, even though it was feeling light from all of the buildup and the gunk coming out, it was feeling dry. And so I didn't want to overdo it. So I did it 1 time with the Dr. Bronner's, washed out until it ran clear. And then in place of doing a conditioner like I used to do, and I've seen the light and I will do no more, I did a hot oil treatment for about 2 hours. And that was basically, I think I just used the argan oil treatment that came with the Cream of Nature hair dye. It came with an argan oil kind of like pill, if you will. And so I used half of that, because actually a little goes a long way. I used half of that, ran that all through my hair, and then covered it with a plastic cap for 2 hours and let it, and basically just got a really good kind of hot oil treatment to condition my hair and put the moisture back in. And so that was that for the detox, and that was great. I loved it. My hair seemed to love it. And it's been feeling really good. I mean, even 3 weeks on, I still feel really good. Like, it still feels really light and clean and healthy. So I'm really glad I did that, and I'm excited to do that again in about 6 months' time. 4 to 6 months' time. We'll see how I'm doing in the fall. Right. And then as far as my weekly routine, that is pretty similar, but obviously without the ACV rinse and without the dish soap. So what I'm doing on a weekly basis is that I've started with the sea buckthorn scalp scrub on damp hair. I'll rub that in gently for a few minutes, and then I'll let it sit for a few minutes, rinse it out as best as I can, because obviously on afro hair, the beads can get trapped pretty easily. So I'll rinse out the majority of it, and then I will use the Dr. Bronner's Tea Tree Castile soap. I'll wash with that. I use that as my shampoo. I usually would just do one wash, because again, it's pretty strong, but I'll make sure I lather for a good amount of time. I also use my silicone scalp brush to make sure I can get to my scalp through all of the locks. So I'll wash with that, make sure my locks get a good lather. Now they lather. Since I've done the detox, they lather a whole lot better than they were before. So I make sure I get a good lather in my locks, a good scrub on my scalp. Rinse that out thoroughly, because again, there's still beads to get out from the scrub. So I'll rinse it out thoroughly. And then I do my green and nettle tea rinse. I have that in my bottle, my spray bottle. So after I squeeze all the water out of my locks after washing, I'll spray my scalp, focus mostly on my scalp. I'll spray my scalp as well as my locks until it's pretty heavily damp, just about dripping, and then squeeze out any excess water, and then I'll put on the plastic cap. And I leave that in for 30 minutes. Something I've been doing, I'm not sure if it's proper or correct to do, but what I've been doing is I've been putting oil on my locks. Not a ton, but I've been putting a little bit of oil on my locks. Sorry. I've been adding a little bit of oil to my locks while the tea tree rinse is on it, so that I can kind of that way I can let there's tea rinse do its thing, but I could also get a head start on a hot oil treatment to just be conditioning while I'm in the cap. I feel like it's a waste of time to have the cap on and not be taking advantage of that heat. And so I put a little oil on. And also I don't know enough about it. I need to read more about the tea rinses, but in my mind it probably doesn't hurt to keep some of that trapped in my locks and my scalp. I could be wrong. Someone tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm thinking about this thing correctly. I obviously need to educate myself a bit more. But anyway, I do that anyway because I want to take advantage of the moisture. And so I try to do a little pre-seal, if you will, with that. And then after 30 minutes, I'll rinse out whatever is left kind of the tea rinse, again until the water runs clear, or as clear as it can, because obviously it's still running a little red with the semi-permanent dye. And then once that's done, obviously squeeze out the excess water, and then I'll put on some more oil. Not too much. I've reduced the amount of oil I'm putting in my locks, and definitely on my scalp, because I actually think that it's counterproductive to what my scalp needs. So yeah, putting less oil, but I do it in 2 parts basically. And then that second time I'll put just a little bit more on, and then I'll put the cap back on and let it do another hot oil treatment for another 30 minutes. So basically I'm getting about an hour's worth of a hot oil treatment between the 2 parts, if that makes sense. Yeah, and then that's the end. That's all I do. Now I have also stopped, for the moment, I've stopped interlocking. I'm still deciding if I'm going to nix it completely from my lock journey, or if I'm going to start doing it the proper way, which is to only do it 2 or 3 times a year. Haven't decided yet. I think it's going to depend on how well I get on with the palm rolling, or like the twisting technique. In the past 3 weeks, I've already had to retwist my hair twice, just because I've not ever twisted my hair. I've not ever palm rolled, and so my hair is not trained yet. So I think it's probably I don't know, I'll have to do research, but I think my understanding is that it can take several months even before your hair kind of starts to understand. And so until that happens, I know I'm gonna have to be retwisting pretty often, probably every time I wash my hair, which I'm fine with because retwisting only takes me an hour tops versus interlocking, which took me 4 hours. So it's still a time saver, and it's something that I can sit and do while I'm working or you know, playing with the kids or watching a movie or whatever. So I don't mind. And to retwist, I'm just using aloe vera gel on damp hair. I happen to have it on hand, but it also is something that I discovered a lot of people have recommended and use as well as a natural build-up free option. I've had 3 weeks of using these products, and so far I really like them. So far so good. My scalp seems to really like it, and it's feeling and looking better and healthier than it has in a long time. There's still a little bit of itching, obviously. I think that's chronic. I don't think that's ever really going to go away, so, and I don't really expect it to. And there's still a little bit of flaking, but it's minimal, and definitely compared to what it was before. Like, my scalp generally feels and looks pretty clear and clean for the majority of the last 2 or 3 weeks, which is all I really wanted. So I'm really, really glad about that. And then also, as far as the color, I'm loving the red color. I've been wanting to go red since before I got my Locs, to be honest. And my wanting to go red was one of the reasons behind me finally locking my hair, which I think I explained. I think I talked about that in my last video as well. Sorry. But yeah, so I'm glad, even though it's not like a bright, bright red. I'm not sure. Hopefully you can see it in the camera. I'm not sure, but anyway, I love it. I think it's perfect for me. It's just what my hair was needing, what my look was needing, what my spirit was needing. I think I'm going to stay here for a while. I am going to reapply the Adore semi-permanent. I still have about half of that bottle left, and so I'll do a reapplication or like a touch-up in about a month's time. So that'll put me in about 6-7 weeks from the first application. So I'll just refresh it that way, because it's already, you know, it rinses out slowly. So I will put that back in about a month, and then hopefully, if my hair likes it and if I'm not feeling or noticing any real damage, I'll probably continue with the Adore every 2 to 3 months, since it is a gentle and a bleach-free product. That is basically it. Let me know what you think. I have to say, like I said, I'm loving the short bob life. I wish I had done it earlier, if I'm honest with you. I absolutely love it. The cut, the color is everything that I needed. Let me know what you think. I can't really do a full 360 because I'm kind of sitting in a weird corner here, but hopefully you can kind of get the gist of what's happening. And I tried to do it as bluntly as I could, as you saw in the video. And obviously I cut it while it was parted down the middle. That way I know it's blunt. And then if I ever want to part it on the side, I just have a little bit of layering, which I love because it gives me a little bit of volume. So I don't even know if that's something I can... Everything is so fresh, I don't want to ruin it. But yeah, it's not really going to cooperate because it's fresh, but... And I kind of set my hair in one direction. But anyway, so this is kind of what it would look like if I parted it off to the side rather than down the middle. So I'm really enjoying it. I like it a lot. I think it fits me. I think it fits my personality. I think it fits my lifestyle as it is at the moment, because boys are always pulling on my hair anyway. And so there's definitely been a decline in the last 3 weeks of the hair pulling now that it's not quite as tempting and like dangling in their faces. So yeah, really pleased overall, really happy. I'm in love with my Locs again, and really excited about seeing where the rest of the journey goes. Let me know anyway if you have any questions, if there's anything I didn't explain well or clearly, or if you have any questions about the products I've used. I think I linked everything in the last video. Actually, I'm not sure that I did. So I'll try to remember to link them and list them at the bottom in the description bar below this video. But yeah, until next time, I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. And I wish you all the best on your journeys as well. Thanks for watching.